One wrong move at a log debarker, and the spinning rollers reveal their danger instantly. Inside a busy mill, piles of timber wait to be processed. The debarker machine stands ready, its powered rollers designed to grip and pull each log inward, while cutter heads strip away bark. Workers guide the line, feeding material into position as the machines hum with steady motion. At the in-feed side, a worker steps closer to adjust a log, focused on keeping production moving. The rollers seize the log and drive it steadily into the debarker's path. Built for non-stop operation, the system moves with unrelenting force, gripping and pulling forward without pause. It's a reminder that once in motion, energized rollers never hesitate and will draw on anything not kept safely clear. Never, ever reach near the in-feed of a log debarker while it's energized. Only lockout, use guards, and maintain safe distance before adjusting or feeding material. On a crowded mill floor, a single loose cloth drifts too close to the rollers. Inside the milling section, rows of heavy rollers hum steadily, filling the air with vibration. Operators lean in to adjust controls focused on their tasks, while another worker passes between the machines. A long shawl hangs freely, brushing dangerously near the exposed moving parts. In this narrow passage, routine hides the risk building silently. The fabric snags into the roller and is pulled in an instant. The spinning mechanism catches hold, driving the cloth further in with relentless force. Shouts erupt, alarms rise, and nearby workers react immediately. In seconds, what was routine becomes chaos as unstoppable machinery takes control. Never, ever wear loose clothing around rotating machinery, because even a single thread can set disaster in motion. On a pipeline platform, a worker steadies himself. When a makeshift railing snaps, the fall zone is suddenly exposed. Inside a processing plant, steel pipelines run in parallel, filling the space with valves, gauges, and narrow passages. Workers climb across them to access controls, balancing on tight walkways as part of their routine tasks. One man steps off the pipes and leans against a thin railing for support, unaware that it's not built for safety, just a fragile makeshift fix. The barrier gives way, exposing the drop zone below. In an instant, the platform edge is left unguarded, leaving a dangerous gap. Crews move quickly to secure the area, reinforcing just how critical proper barriers are in preventing falls. Never, ever rely on makeshift railings or untested supports. When they give way, there's nothing left to protect against the fall. In a quiet workshop, a single tire suddenly turns into a ticking time bomb. It's a regular afternoon inside a tire repair bay. Workers move steadily through their tasks, inflating and fitting heavy truck tires. The space looks routine, but unseen pressure is building within one of the tires mounted on the truck. As one mechanic works nearby, the weakened tire gives way without warning. In an instant, compressed air bursts free with a violent blast. Tools rattle, smoke fills the bay, and the sudden shockwave turns a routine moment into chaos. Never, ever inflate heavy truck tires without a safety cage and proper restraints. Compressed air holds enormous power, enough to knock down even a trained worker in a split second. A single overinflation or mistake can send parts flying and overwhelm anyone nearby. On a busy factory floor, a robot arm moves with flawless precision until it turns its strength on a worker who has no time to react. Inside the factory, machines hum in rhythm. Conveyor lines carry parts and a robotic arm swings back and forth, built for speed and force. Workers nearby handle panels by hand, moving close to the machine's range. The line between human tasks and automation is far too thin. As one worker kneels to adjust a panel, the robot shifts unexpectedly. In a split second, the arm swings into its path, striking the frame with unyielding force. The machine follows its programmed motion, unaware of anything in its range. Never, ever step into the active range of a robot arm while it is operating. Robots are designed to move heavy loads with relentless force, not to recognize danger. Even at slower speeds, a single swing can pin a worker before they can move. The only safe practice is separation. Use cages, sensors, and lockout systems that keep the arm stopped before anyone enters. A drill spins with steady rhythm until one shift turns the routine unstable. Inside a workshop, metal parts are stacked neatly beneath a vertical drill press. The machine hums with constant speed, its bit rotating in smooth precision. At first, the operation appears controlled, just another task on the line. As the press lowers, the bit meets an unsecured piece. The rotation catches, and in seconds, the smooth rhythm breaks. Tools shift out of place, scattering across the bench as the process halts abruptly. Never, ever run a drill press without proper clamps or guards. Loose material can shift instantly, and the machine continues its motion until stopped. On a busy roadside lift, a single steel beam becomes a swinging hazard that turns control into chaos. A mobile crane towers above, hoisting a heavy beam off a flatbed truck. Workers stand on and around the trailer, guiding the load by hand, while others watch from the ground. The operation looks routine, but the suspended weight hangs directly within reach of those closest to it. As the crane raises the beam, balance shifts. The suspended load swings wide, slings twisting under strain. The uncontrolled motion rattles the truck bed and ground below, exposing how quickly a routine lift can turn unstable. A suspended load is never stable. Once it swings or slips, its weight multiplies into unstoppable force. No worker should stand beneath or beside a lifted load. Always clear the danger zone, guide with taglines, and let the crane move steel, not human hands. Inside a deep trench, a worker steadies a heavy pipe. Then the soil walls shift and everything changes in seconds. At a roadside dig, crews guide a large pipe into place with ropes. One worker stands below, holding it steady while others pull from above. The trench walls rise high and loose, with no supports holding the soil back. Everything looks routine, but unseen risks are building. The pipe sways and presses against the wall, triggering a slide. Soil begins pouring down, cascading into the trench as balance is lost. The pipe shifts with the movement, jolting sideways while dirt rapidly fills the space, turning routine work into sudden chaos. Never enter a trench without proper protective systems in place. Soil can look stable, but can shift under the slightest pressure. Use trench boxes, shoring, or slope the sides to prevent collapses. Always keep workers out of unprotected trenches and make sure lifting tasks are controlled from a safe distance. 1 second near a live press and the steel is already moving. The factory floor hums with constant energy. Conveyor lines roll, reels spin, and at the center a massive hydraulic press powers down in steady rhythm. Each cycle delivers crushing precision, shaping parts in seconds. Around it, workers move quickly, making adjustments and loading material. It feels routine, but routine is not the same as safe. The press sits idle for a moment, but without lockout or safeguards, the danger remains. Suddenly, the cycle engages. The press descends with unstoppable force, powering downward with full precision. In seconds, the quiet space transforms into an active danger zone, a reminder that energized machinery never waits for human error. Never ever enter the danger zone of a hydraulic press without full lockout tagout. Machines like this don't pause for human reflex. Once engaged, their motion continues with total force and no hesitation. In this paper mill, the rollers roar nonstop, and a single misstep leaves no chance to react. It's late morning on the production floor. Heavy machines thunder as workers move between towering paper reels. At the center, 2 massive rollers spin nonstop, pulling sheets with precision. Their power is silent but unforgiving, and workers operate dangerously close, guiding paper by hand. One worker leans in to adjust the sheet. A loose edge brushes the roller, and in an instant, the spinning cylinders seize the material. The rollers drag the sheet tighter, pulling it in as alarms rise and coworkers scramble for the stop controls. Never, ever place hands or body near unguarded rollers while they are moving. These machines pull with relentless force, and even at low speeds, the gap can catch fabric before anyone reacts. A worker pulls a pallet jack down a ramp when the heavy load pushes forward and he's caught off guard in an instant. Inside a busy warehouse, boxes are stacked high, waiting for transport. A worker pulls a loaded pallet jack, guiding it down the truck's tailgate to unload. The floor is smooth but steep, and the weight of the cargo is massive. At first, everything looks manageable as the pallet moves slowly, but gravity takes over. The pallet jack accelerates, momentum surging beyond control. The box tilts dangerously as the load barrels forward, and within seconds, balance is lost and chaos spreads across the ramp. Heavy loads on slopes demand extra care. Ramps should have brakes, wheel chocks, or additional help to guide the weight safely. Workers should stay clear of the front path of moving cargo. A single slip is enough for the load to overpower human strength. On a bridge construction site, one wrong shift of heavy steel turns routine work into sudden chaos. The crew is working above the river, unloading long stacks of steel beams from a trailer. At first, everything looks steady, with the beams neatly piled, but their immense weight leaves no margin for error. Workers move carefully around the load, each step echoing across the steel surface. As workers move around the beams, the stack shifts unexpectedly. Steel slides suddenly, sending dust clouds and sharp echoes across the site. Crew members freeze in shock as the platform trembles under the sudden movement. Never, ever pass between unsecured loads. Beams, lumber, or pipes may appear stable, but even the smallest shift can unleash dangerous force. The safest approach is clear. Stay off the load, secure it from the ground, and ensure all workers remain at a safe distance until it's fully stable. On a construction deck soaked with fresh concrete, the slab buckles without warning, and workers have no time to react. A pump truck stands anchored on the ground, its boom reaching up to the slab under construction. Workers spread fresh concrete across the steel framework, boots sinking into the wet surface. Beneath their feet, wooden supports and steel mesh strain under the growing load. As the pour continues, the slab begins to sag. The mesh bends, the surface ripples, and in seconds, the structure gives way. The deck drops suddenly, sending shock waves through the framework as tools scatter and crews rush to safety. Never, ever pour concrete onto a slab without verifying the strength of its formwork. Wet concrete is deceptively heavy, and if the supports are weak, collapse can happen in seconds. The only safe practice is preparation, calculate loads, inspect bracing, and secure every support before pouring. In the stillness of a night shift, fatigue silently builds, and one worker drifts at the edge of danger. It's the early morning hours inside a factory, where silence masks the hidden risks of exhaustion. A worker sits on a raised platform, leaning against stairs as the minutes drag on. The calm routine hides the fact that fatigue is creeping in, unnoticed, but dangerous. The worker's head lowers and he dozes off. His balance shifts and he tips forward as fatigue pushes him past the safe zone. A narrow miss that shows how quickly exhaustion can turn routine work into danger. Never, ever underestimate the danger of fatigue. Drowsiness reduces awareness and steals reaction time, making even simple tasks unsafe. The only safe practice is proactive. Schedule rest, rotate tasks, and ensure elevated workstations have guardrails or harness systems in place. In a crowded yard filled with steel and machinery, one spark set off a chain reaction that no one expected. Two towering storage tanks stood in the yard, their weathered walls rising over workers and equipment. A crane truck was parked nearby, and welding gear lay scattered on the ground as hot work was underway. For the crew, it was routine, another day of cutting and maintaining heavy steel. But inside the tanks, pressure and residual gases built unnoticed. As the welding torch cut across corroded metal, heat seeped into the corroded tank and pressure built unseen. Then, without warning, the structure failed, releasing a violent burst of energy. A shockwave rattled the yard, scattering debris and shaking nearby equipment. What looked like ordinary hot work instantly revealed the hidden danger of sealed pressure. Never ever perform hot work on sealed or unvented tanks. Hidden gases and pressure can turn a routine job into a catastrophic failure. On the factory floor, a towering press looms, when suddenly it moves without warning. In a busy workshop, the massive green press is running. Workers move in and out, completing their routine. One worker bends toward the machine, unaware that the press still holds stored energy. Without warning, the press cycles upward, releasing a heavy metal striking with sudden movement that startles everyone nearby. Tools scatter, workers step back in alarm, and the jolt makes clear how dangerous unexpected activation can be. The unmistakable signal is that this machine cannot be trusted unless it's fully locked out. Never, ever step into a press machine's path unless it is locked out, powered down, and fully verified safe. In a narrow workshop, a single spark lands where it shouldn't, and fire erupts before anyone has time to react. Evening work is underway. Sparks shower from a welder's torch as metal frames are cut and joined. Around the space, workers stand close, and an unattended steel drum sits near the wall, too close to the welding zone. The setup looks routine, but hidden risks are building with every spark. No one notices that the drum is slowly becoming the most dangerous thing in the room. As sparks hit the drum, smoke rises and flames break out in seconds. Heat spreads quickly, tools clatter as crews scramble to respond, and extinguishers are pulled in. The fire surges before control is regained, showing how a single spark can turn routine work into chaos. Never, ever weld near containers or flammable storage without clearing the area first. Even a small residue inside a drum can ignite instantly. Inside a busy shipyard workshop, one sudden shift of heavy steel turns a routine task into a moment of chaos. It's another day in the fabrication hall where workers are assembling massive steel structures for a vessel. The environment is filled with the sound of welding, grinding, and metal being moved into place. Two workers in reflective vests and helmets stand at the edge of a platform, checking the progress. Above them, suspended steel sections loom, resting precariously on supports. Everything looks stable until it doesn't. Without warning, the suspended steel shifts off balance. The massive section tilts sideways, pressing down onto the platform and jolting the entire frame. Tools clatter loose and materials scatter as the sudden movement exposes the full hazard of unstable loads. Never ever position yourself under or beside unsecured loads. Heavy steel can move without warning, and even a slight imbalance can cause a collapse. At a construction site, one step at height is all it takes for control to be lost. Workers move across an unfinished structure, brick walls rising with wooden planks serving as walkways. A worker climbs and balances along the edge, focused on the task ahead. But without harnesses or guardrails, the elevated platform offers no margin for error. One misstep at the edge reveals the danger. Without guardrails or harnesses, the platform offers no protection. Dust stirs across the site as nearby crews move quickly to secure the area, reinforcing how critical fall safeguards are in every high-placed task. Never, ever work at height without fall protection. Harnesses, lifelines, and guardrails are the only safeguard against a single misstep. In a foundry glowing with heat, molten aluminum meets hidden moisture, and routine work turns explosive. The furnace roars as aluminum is melted and poured, workers in reflective suits keeping watch. Everything seems under control, but in this environment, even a trace of water, from damp scrap, a wet tool, or condensation, hides catastrophic potential. As molten aluminum flows, it meets hidden moisture. In an instant, the water flashes into steam, expanding violently and blasting pressure through the furnace. The controlled melt transforms into an eruption, shaking the area with force and sparks as the chain reaction unfolds. Never, ever let water near molten aluminum. Even the smallest drop can ignite an uncontrollable chain reaction. In a busy valve workshop where castings and components surround every corner, one wrong turn of a hand wheel can unleash forces powerful enough to tear the calm apart. The camera shows a cramped industrial shop lined with heavy valve bodies stacked high against the walls. Workers weave between the piles, focused on their tasks. At the front, one worker leans over a large valve assembly connected to a test tank, gripping the oversized hand wheel. Around him, the space feels routine. Just another afternoon spent tightening bolts and checking flow. But inside that valve, something unseen is happening. Pressure is quietly building. The system hasn't been fully depressurized after a test run. As the hand wheel turns, the seal gives way. Compressed air and water release suddenly, filling the shop with a rushing cloud. Tools shift, visibility drops, and what seemed like a routine adjustment quickly reveals the hidden force of stored pressure. Never attempt to adjust or dismantle a valve under pressure. Always ensure the system is fully isolated and depressurized before touching a single bolt or hand wheel. A ladder can seem steady until the ground says otherwise. On a quiet residential street, a worker climbs high on an extension ladder leaned against the wall of a building. There's no stabilizer or tie-off, only balance holding it in place. Around him, the ground is uneven and no one is bracing the base. The ladder shifts unexpectedly, sliding just enough to throw off its balance. The frame wobbles against the wall, unsteady and unsafe. Around it, movement pauses as the instability becomes obvious. What looked secure moments ago is now tipping. Never ever use a ladder without securing it at the base and anchoring it at the top. In the quiet of a small kitchen, one careless spark can ignite an inferno. It was an ordinary morning inside a restaurant kitchen. Plates of food were laid out on the counter, the staff moving in and out of frame. But behind the routine, a hidden danger lingered. A gas cylinder tucked too close to the working area. A worker bends down, unaware of the risk. Moments later, a sudden flash flares as the cylinder ignites. The confined kitchen fills with smoke and heat in seconds, alarms rising as the calm morning turns into urgent evacuation. Never, ever store or handle gas cylinders inside confined kitchen spaces. Gas leaks, poor ventilation, or sparks from electrical equipment can instantly turn into explosions. One careless moment near a working excavator and a routine dump turns into sudden danger. A construction crew is working on a dirt road. An excavator is scooping soil and swinging it from a pile, while another worker stands directly in the swing path. The operator's bucket rises high, releasing its heavy load. The soil pours down directly into the space where the worker is standing. With no safe distance kept, the sudden weight forces the ground unstable, pushing him off balance. In seconds, he stumbles backward into a water-filled trench as the site reacts in alarm. Never, ever stand beneath or within the drop zone of any lifting or dumping equipment. Even loose material carries massive force when falling, and a single misstep can send someone into danger. In a warehouse filled with crates and forklifts, one wrong move turns precision into chaos. It was late in the shift inside a busy distribution center. Stacks of bottled products filled the trailer, waiting to be unloaded. The forklift operator approached with confidence, but under the pressure of time, every movement carried weight. As the truck operator moves forward, the forks catch the load at the wrong angle. The stacked cargo shifts abruptly, throwing the machine off balance. In seconds, the forklift tilts dangerously, rocking into the unloading area and halting operations as the hazard becomes clear. Never, ever rush forklift operations. Stability and alignment must come before speed. Haste turns a powerful machine into a hazard for everyone nearby. In a quiet workshop, one routine tire repair spirals into chaos within seconds. Two mechanics are working side by side. In front of them, a massive industrial tire sits in the machine, air being pumped steadily inside. The confined bay hums with the ordinary sounds of tools and compressed air. Nothing seems unusual, but the hidden force building inside the tire is immense. As one mechanic works nearby, the weakened tire suddenly releases its built-up pressure. A deafening rush of air rattles tools and shakes the bay, turning a routine task into sudden confusion. The shockwave makes clear just how dangerous a split-second failure can be. Never, ever position yourself directly in front of or over a tire while it's inflating. Compressed air can turn the wheel into a projectile the moment it gives way. This incident is a stark reminder that inflating heavy tires is never routine. The hidden pressure inside can unleash more force than any worker can withstand. Always use safety cages, keep distance, and stand clear, because one burst can turn a workshop into a blast zone. A ladder balanced in the middle of a showroom becomes unstable, and in seconds, overhead, work turns into a collapse. Workers are installing or adjusting fittings near the ceiling, one climbing the ladder while another stands close for support. Around them, the floor is cluttered with tools and materials, making stability even more fragile. The ladder is the only access point, yet it isn't secured or braced. As the worker shifts position high above, the ladder wobbles sharply, its balance gone. With no stabilizers in place, the frame sways, and in seconds, the entire setup crashes down, scattering tools and turning the area below into sudden chaos. Never, ever work on a ladder without securing its base. An unsecured ladder is always one movement away from a fall. At a gas station, a runaway truck rolls forward, turning routine into chaos in seconds. It's a quiet morning in Zhangjiakou, North China. The fuel station looks calm, workers moving about as usual. But in the distance, an unattended truck begins to roll, thousands of pounds of weight heading straight toward the pumps. The unattended truck rolls forward unchecked. With its full momentum, it strikes a petrol pump, shaking the entire station and damaging equipment. In seconds, a minor oversight escalates into a costly hazard. Never ever leave heavy vehicles without brakes applied and wheels secured. A massive roller rumbles forward while a worker steps into the operator's blind spot. Engines echo across the job site as trucks and rollers move in rhythm, laying down fresh pavement. Workers in bright vests move alongside, coordinating the flow with quick gestures and steady steps. But beneath the noise and routine lies a silent hazard, blind spots that swallow anything in their path. One worker edges too close to the front of the roller, stepping straight into the operator's invisible zone. With no spotter guiding and no barriers in place, the machine advances while the worker remains unseen. In an instant, a routine task turns into a critical safety breach as the blind spot swallows the danger from view. Never ever step into the blind zone of heavy equipment. These machines are designed for power, not visibility, and operators cannot react to what they cannot see. Keep clear of heavy equipment. Always use spotters, barriers, and signals to protect blind zones. Safety lives in distance, because one step too close is one step too far. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.